This is Jack, and this is also Jack. In today's video, we are going to talk about Jack. This is probably one of the most interesting accessories that I have tested all year. You're gonna wanna stick around. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you're into the non-competitive side of cycling, riding party pace, you found your people, hit that subscribe button. So this here is Jack. It's a new product by a small brand called Whole Grain Cycles. In a nutshell, it's a front rack that you can put on virtually any bike without tools, and I think it actually solves a lot of problems. I don't usually do this, but this is a Kickstarter project, and they're gonna launch it this weekend. So if you're interested in supporting this product, which I think you should. This is one of the cooler products I've tested all year. Check out the Kickstarter link below. Looking at the construction, it's made out of stainless steel. A really nice touch are these tie down points. They have them all over on the sides, on the front, even a pair up here. This makes it super useful for securing all sorts of different loads on this rack. The way it works is that it has these hooks, which you put these plastic inserts in that are sized for either a 25.4 or a 31.8 handlebar. And then you attach two straps to stabilize it. I'm gonna put on this bike so you can see what I mean. So it's a really snug fit. Yep, just give it a little tap. So once it's on, you can see it still kind of moves around. I know this is going to sound complicated right now, but once you actually do it once or twice, it's really easy. Supplied with Jack are a couple of really strong polyester webbing straps. This one is size medium. I know this one works with this bike. And there's basically two hooks up here. You take one of the open ends, put it into the hook, rotate the rack momentarily upwards, and then wrap the webbing strap under the stem and onto the other hook. And you can see what that has done. It basically acts as a hard stop so the rack can't go further down. You get 4 of these anti-rotation webbing straps, and what I found is the slacker the head tube angle, the larger the size, or the longer the size strap you have to use. So with road bikes and gravel bikes, you're probably using a medium or a small, but when you move into a mountain bike, you use either a medium or a large. I'll get into more of that in a little bit. So as you can see, once you have that on here, it's not really gonna move down anymore. Next piece of the puzzle is this guy. This is just another simple piece of webbing strap with a kind of toothy closure here. And what this does is that it prevents this upward motion. The way you use this is that it loops through the tabs in the top, turn it back towards itself, and basically wraps around the steer tube. So it's kind of like those steer tube, head tube straps that you see on any bike packing bag. Then you want to run it through the teeth. For the next part, I can't quite do it perfectly with the bike on the stand here, but you want to apply downward pressure whilst pulling this and tightening the strap. Once you have it nice and secure, there it is. Jack the bike rack. On our scales, the stainless steel rack with the cloth platform came in just over 700 grams, so about 1.5 pounds. In terms of how much clearance you need so that the rack isn't rubbing on your tire, it's actually not a whole lot. You know, I don't ride the biggest frame, and it's not been a problem on any of my bike. This distance here from the top of the handlebar to the bottom of the rail is about 8.25 inches or about 20.5 centimeters. So you need at least this much. So measure the top of your handlebar to the top of the tire. You're gonna want at least 8.5 inches or about 23 centimeters. I forgot to mention, it also ships with these bungee cords as well as some carabiners. So lots of options to tie things down to the rack. But these bungee cords are actually my favorite kind of bungee cord. You'll notice that they are hookless, and the way that they work is that they slip through this hole and then you pull it tight and the friction holds them. So it's kind of an infinitely adjustable bungee cord without a hook, so if it accidentally slips, it's not popping out your eyeball. So using this, I've been able to secure a walled 137 basket on here, as well as what I would take on a camping trip, a tent, sleeping pad. And I've also tried it with various Paradise style bags. So my Bags by Bird bag, it'll fit a Swift Industries bag, it'll fit a Paradise saddle bag, no problem. You would simply attach those bags to your handlebars, the bag would rest on the rack, and the head tube strap would wrap around Jack the rack. There are a lot of things I like about this design that make it absolutely brilliant. One of them is you'll notice that the way it attaches to the rack is fairly close to the stem. And this is important because if you're using something like a Paradise or whatever handlebar bag that straps to your handlebars, those straps usually end up right here. And because of the tight placement and because these hooks are fairly narrow, I haven't found any problems connecting a Paradise style bag to this rack. With something like a larger Care style bag, this rack could be a little bit deeper to fit it better, but I found in my experience it wasn't a big issue. Sure, the bag stood a little bit proud of the handlebars, but it's, it's not a deal breaker to me. There's a ton that I absolutely love about this bike rack. The first one is its versatility. It's super easy to move from bike to bike to bike. If you've watched my channel, you know that's something that's super important to me because I have a fleet of bikes and I like to load them in different ways. It's also great insofar as you can put things like a basket or a Care bag or just kind of bungee random stuff on there. Another big like about this rack is its estimated MSRP is going to be about 80 bucks. That is an absolute bargain in my opinion. I know some of you out there are going to say, well, isn't that just like the Nitto F16? And it is, but it also isn't. For one, the Nitto F16 only works on smaller diameter handlebars. It doesn't have added straps to make it more stable. It's also pretty shallow at 6 inches, so not the best depth for a larger size bag. Riding with the bag, in my experience so far, hasn't been a problem. There is a slight bit of movement, but I don't think that's a big deal. I actually don't think having a completely rigid system on the front is ideal because that'll just lend to breakage. I would probably keep loads on this fairly light so as not to alter steering or handling. Handling can get really weird when you put load on the front. Their recommended weight capacity is about 5 kilograms or about 11 pounds. And that's from a handling perspective. They haven't tested it to failure, so it could probably take more. But I do agree, beyond 10 pounds up on the front, it's just going to get weird. Those are all the likes. What are the dislikes? There's actually not a ton. I did find when I put this on my Timberjack, I believe the head tube angle is about 68 degrees. When I used a medium one, it didn't straighten it enough. When I used the large one, it tilted the rack upwards. So I kind of feel like for a 68-degree head tube angle, they should have a medium plus, just so you can get the platform nice and level. Another con, probably more serious, but it won't affect all bikes, is that if you tend to ride a smaller frame bike without a lot of space in the head tube, there is a tendency for the rack to hit the down tube when it's at a really extreme angle. I mean, if you're pedaling with your handlebars like this, there's something that's gone wrong, but this is when the rack will hit the down tube. This might be a little bit more problematic on mountain bikes, which tend to have more acute angles near the head tube and more of it built up, and where you might occasionally find yourself steering at really sharp angles. So be aware of that. But I think if you're using this rack for touring on the road, gravel riding, mountain biking where you're not navigating super tight switchbacks, then no problem. So I'm fortunate enough to test lots of products on the channel, and this by far is one of the coolest ones I've ever tested. It's versatile, it seems to be well made in my experience with it so far. So if you're stoked on this product as much as I am, definitely check out their Kickstarter campaign that's happening this weekend. I think for sure they're going to hit their goal and probably exceed it. But if you join early, that good price gets even better. So definitely check out that link. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Is this the rack of your dreams? Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys like this content, please consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon. That is the best way to do it. You get tons of discounts and keep the lights on, all this quirky bike content. And as always, keep the supple side down.